What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40k. So of course, Nurgle's November continues with more lore on the Plague God and his descendants. However, I just want to say that we've got some amazing new reveals this past week with none other than Titus getting a new model and getting a new campaign set centered around the 500 worlds of Ultramar as they're defending it against the Necrons. But look at this animation. Isn't it just some of the best we've seen? Now this has me wondering, because they also put out like an advertisement for Warhammer Plus. Why is it that Warhammer Plus can't get, things going the right way? Time and time again, it's just not enough animations, not enough content that they want you to pay for on a monthly basis. So, I don't know, Hammer and Bolter and all these other Astartes too, like they really need to step their game up and either give us more or have this subscription thing be a little cheaper, because yeah, Warhammer Plus ain't cutting it when it comes to content, but some of these animations, they're 10 out of 10, just like this one. So obviously Titus is the new main character for like animation wise that GW is putting out, and he seems to be elevated to become the new captain of the second company of Ultramarines. So really awesome news there. So without further ado, guys, let's dive into this excerpt from the Godblight novel as we find out what happens when Guilliman fights Mortarion. The garden of Nurgle shook like an earthquake. The strange demon creatures that dwelled there set up a cacophony of cries and moans. On the areas of lax that it overlaid, reality trembled and reasserted itself, and the garden began to fade. "Impossible," Mortarion whispered. The corpse of his brother twitched. The armor of fate was a corroded shell, but somehow its power pack restarted, and lights blinked on all over it. Guilliman's blackened face turned up to look at him. Mortarion felt something huge and dangerous moving through the warp, something he had not felt in a long time. Guilliman's back arced. The armor was humming now, giving off a psychic signature as arcane mechanisms within it powered on throughout. The earth shook again. Now a second toll of an unseen bell sent the descendants of the garden into panic. Trees cracked as they dragged up roots and attempted to lumber away. A million kinds of demon flies buzzed up from the corpse grounds and flew off in gathering swarms. Nurglings shrieked and waddled as fast as their little legs could carry them. Mortarion stood hurriedly, raised silence, and made it to bring it down, to destroy Guilliman finally and take his soul as a sacrifice to the great god Nurgle, even if he could not take his worlds. But Mortarion could not move. Guilliman's eyes were glowing with pure power. The last slimes of his decayed flesh burned away, and a network of feathery capillaries spread in their place, bearing new blood unsullied by the Godblight. The metal of the armor of fate shimmered, impossibly remaking itself. Bright decorations appeared as tarnish cracked and fell away. Wires grew and reconnected, and Guilliman's skin was growing back as well. The neverground of the garden shook hard. Demons large and small were screaming, emerging from their hiding places and fleeing in righteous stampedes. Away in the distance, ever visible wherever you went in the garden, Nurgle's black manse shivered, and Mortarion felt another presence, as powerful as the first, looking at him from behind its ever-shuttered windows. The ground cracked and broke. Glaring whiteness blazed from crevices. Guilliman's corpse rose up and hung in the air, supported by a pillar of radiance, and slowly turned so he was upright. He reached out, and the Emperor's sword appeared in his hand. It burned with the fires of 1,000 suns. "He speaks to me, brother," said Guilliman. "Does he not speak to you?" The unbearable radiance enfolded Guilliman. So glaring, Mortarion threw his hands up. "Father?" Mortarion said. His voice quailed like a little boy discovering the course of some small but unforgivable crime. "I am his right hand, brother," said Guilliman. "I am his general, his champion, the avenging sun, and by his might I am preserved. The landscape flickered between the blasted battlefield and the garden of Nurgle. The ground of the garden was rolling. Impossible! You should be dead. There was the creak of a door, faint, but you could hear it coming from the manse. The door never opened to Nurgle's house. Mortarion turned very, very slowly and looked to this great house. A single tiny shutter on an insignificant gable was open, a square of deeper blackness in the black wood. "Forgive me, grandfather," he said. Guilliman looked past him, and something looked through him, seeing all worlds at once. Eyes as bright as the center of galaxies stared at the black, foreboding house. "You are a traitor," Guilliman said, in a voice that was not quite his own. "You have brought low all that could have been, and you are as much a victim as a monster, Mortarion. Perhaps one day you will be saved, but until then, you must go back to the master you chose." "No," cried Mortarion, but it was too late. Some force reached for him and yanked him hard. He flew back over and over through the garden, towards that black house of the black god. He felt a moment of perfect terror before he flew in through the open portal, and it slammed shut behind him, trapping him altogether with a more awful god. Nurgle was displeased. Guilliman looked over the garden of Nurgle. He was between two worlds, for the warp was a shifting thing, never constant. The garden was a collection of ideas, for it had no true form, and through it, he could see a million other worlds that underpinned it, the dreams of souls living and dead, the past that if glimpsed through banks of glittering sea mist that evaporated before the morning sun, the battlefield of Lax. "Hear me," Guilliman's voice boomed through eternities, and the sword blazed higher until the fire of it threatened to burn out time. "I am Robute Guilliman, the last loyal son of the Emperor of Terra. It is not your destiny to end today, God of Plague, but know that I am coming for you, and I will find you, and you will burn." He gripped the sword of the Emperor two-handed and raised it high. Rising waves of fire ripped into the garden. From the great manse, a cry of rage sounded, as a wall of flame hotter than 1,000,000 suns devoured everything in its path, finally breaking and receding within yards of the black walls of Nurgle's house. Its infinite halls shook, mossy tiles fell from the roof, sodden timbers steamed. This is a warning. The warp and the materium are once in balance. For too long you have tipped the scales. Understand that it is not only the warp that is capable of pushing back. This realm is not real. Only will is real, and none may outmatch my will. Be assured, Lord of Plagues, and convey this message to your brothers, that I do not speak for myself. I speak for the Emperor of mankind. Then he was falling forever until his knees hit ground, and he woke into reality once more. Guilliman opened his eyes. He was kneeling on the ground of Lax. The sword of the Emperor was buried point down in a cracked earth. Its fires had turned everything around him to glass. Burnt-out suits of armor lay around him. Only he was untouched. Mortarion was nowhere to be seen. He stood. Whatever presence had inhabited him was gone. The air was clean, and there was no sign of taint nearby. He knew that the Emperor's sword had burned away the godblight. Ferocious orbital bombardment was laying waste to Mortarion's army, which was now retreating, leaderless and outmatched, under the cover of poisoned fogs. The air cracked all around him. Golden giants appeared, and further out, other spikes of energy announced the arrival of more custodians into the rear of the Death Guard line. There would be a great slaughter of traitors before the day was done. Maldavar Colquan stepped forward. "Is it done?" "It is done. Mortarion is gone, his network broken. The plague wars are over," said Guilliman, and he sheathed the sword of the Emperor. teleportation with an instantaneous means of travel, but there was an infinite gap between moments where one could feel the warp. Sometimes it lasted an eternity, but it was always forgotten. And there you have it, guys. This excerpt shows clearly the strength that the Emperor wields. Through one of his sons, Guilliman was able to burn away pieces of the Garden of Nurgle to the point where Nurgle himself, the god of pestilence, plague, and disease, was literally pissed off and unable to do anything, honestly. Mortarion was pulled back to him in a fit of rage, and honestly the Emperor said, "This is a warning. Share this to your brothers and know that I am out to get you." That is really badass. It shows you just how powerful the Emperor is with using a conduit, and he's able to cure the strongest disease ever made, the God Blight, which is so powerful it can take out a Primarch, and we all know how durable Primarchs are. Resurrected Guilliman cured the disease and blew apart a portion of Nurgle's domain. That is insane, to put it lightly. And we see that this is the first time in recent lore that the Emperor is a powerhouse, almost akin to just how strong he was at the end and the death when he fought against Horus, or perhaps even more so. So let me know your thoughts down below, and we'll keep Nurgle November coming. Obviously, we're supposed to show just how awesome Nurgle is this whole month, but let's show the flip side to that and see Nurgle get his teeth kicked in just a little bit. So that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you for watching, listening, commenting, sharing. Hit that hype button, and we'll see you with more Nurgle lore. This has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll catch you then. Peace.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.